I will never forget what has transpired already today, and it's 9 o'clock in the morning. Will never forget them, never forget the events for the rest of my life. I woke up this morning, it's pretty cold here in New York, but it's the 10th of Teves, the fast day of the 10th of Teves, the day of the beginning of the siege on Yerushalayim, which ended 30 months later in the 9th of Av, destruction of the temple. And so I'm going out to play against my wall, which I call my temple wall. And it's 7 in the morning. I'm a little bit late for a variety of reasons. And I go to the elevator with my racket, and I put the racket down, and I say, oh, I have to go back. I have to go to the bathroom. I put it there, and I go back. And for some reason, I went back on a false alarm. And I come back, and I go out, and just when I go out, I bump into the rabbi who I held responsible for maybe 2 years before, not doing anything when Dad and I were asked to leave the synagogue because we weren't recognized. On a Shabbos afternoon when Dad used to like to go for the third meal. And I'd been angry at him, and the last time I saw him was on Kol Nidre evening. That's the night of Rosh Hashanah. And I avoided him in the street. I saw him, I gave him a dirty look because Dad had died a couple of months before, and I hadn't seen him, and I go from there, and I walk on, and he looked to say hello, and then he turned his head away when he realized I wasn't, and I gave him a dirty look. And I move on. I go on. After I left him, I said to myself, gee, that's weird of me. It's Kol Nidre. You're supposed to make amends with all the people that you have arguments with. And I'm leaving now on Kol Nidre with an argument. Before I go to Rosh Hashanah and try to be forgiven and start again anew for the new year. So this is a strange occurrence for me. I go on, and I say the guy didn't deserve it or whatever excuse. I go on. I think I'd seen the rabbi one other time in the street, and I crossed the street. Or I even walked right by him and didn't nod in this interim period since, we'll call it Rosh Hashanah, which it was. And then this morning, I go out and, that delay I had, and just so I go out, and just when I open the back door to go out, the rabbi is right there. The rabbi's right there. I say, oh my, so I pass him again, and I say, and then I realize, I say, how are you, Rabbi? And I turn around, and he stops. I said, today I celebrate the end of Hanukkah. See, it's assumed that it's 10th of Teves, but I celebrate the end of Hanukkah. So he says, what do you mean? I said, well, I do both both Hillel's version and Shammai's version. And if you do that, then today is the last day of Hanukkah. And it's the start of the new year, because it's the third seal. It's the third seal from the Mishnah. And so it starts the year that started on Rosh Hashanah. I say to myself, oh my. So he, to tell you the truth, he didn't know about this stuff. Didn't know about the third seal. Or today, I said, today is the start in whatever year it is, 5,778. And I said to him, Shana Tova, which is what I should have said on Rosh Hashanah when I bumped into him. And the making up I did to him, I said, oh, I'm sorry, I said today, I'm sorry I avoided you the other time. And so I made amends. And today is the third seal of Rosh Hashanah that started on Rosh Hashanah. The first seal is on, well, all the complete Tzaddikim are forgiven on Rosh Hashanah. Then one's a little less. On, everybody knows you're forgiven on the 10th of Tishrei, on Yom HaKippurim. And then the second seal occurs, if for those who haven't had this fortunate experience of being able to make amends, you have until Hoshana Rabbah. It said like the 21st of Tishrei. And then that's the second seal. And then in the Mishnah it says the third seal occurs until Hanukkah. And so for me, Hanukkah ends today, the 10th of Teves. And I've been saying that in my videos or whatever, and to people, and in my own life, because I believe in being a candle. And today is for me, the last candle. And I've been talking about being a candle. And today is the Ner, and I wrote about it this morning. And even this morning I looked at the laws of the 10th of Tishrei, and they say, oh, the 9th of Tishrei, 10th of Teves. And they say, oh, the 9th occurrences, there were terrible occurrences also, but the unknown occurrences. Sure, they were unknown because the 9th and the 10th are always together, just like the 9th and the 10th of Tishrei are always together. For those who eat on the 9th of Tishrei, it's as if they fasted on the 10th. And it's the same thing here on the 10th of Teves. It's the 9th, which was yesterday. And I was spoken to yesterday. And this is the start. This is the start of this year. It occurs exactly 100 days after the start of the year. 10 times 10, 10 times the 10 of Tishrei times the 10th of Teves. There's also some other stuff. A hiddush of mine about the Rebbe who died, the previous Rebbe before this last Rebbe. He died on the 10th of Shevat. And What's 10 of Shavat, 10th of Shavat? What's 30 days before that? The 10th of Teves. So his Zelim left him on the 10th of Teves, and that's today. And that's a stamp to realize that I'm right here. This is a holy day. And I was spoken to today, yesterday by actual speaking, and then today by these events. Bumping into this rabbi. Being able to make my amends to the one person that I needed to. Rectifying some stuff from my father. So today, the 10th of Teves, is the start of the year, the third seal. See? And it's a very, reason I'm stalling here, I'm thinking how to, not the word celebrate it, but what to do on it. Do I really feel crushed? Or do I feel elevated? The crushed is the elevation. The beginning of the end is the end of the beginning. And this is very deep. And that's the samach, the circle, which means the siege, means to surround. And one surrounds in the samach. Another thing is that I've been associating this with the Shema. The Shema of hearing. A lot of people celebrate also the 5th of Teves as the kind of like the beginning of the siege, or they celebrated it that they heard about the siege. The 5th of Teves has a relationship to the 10th of Teves. It's the following year when they heard about it. So the Shema, when they heard about it, and there's some names associated with this. So the idea of the Shema associated with this 10th of Teves fast, and why it came to me right now. Anyway, for me, this has been the most mystical day. Because it's kind of like my Hiddush, that Hanukkah only ends today. Zot Hanukkah is today. The relationship between Hanukkah and the 10th of Teves. Remember that I feel that exile is redemption. What looks like exile is really, what looks like Golus is really Geula. That Aleph, the difference. When that Aleph is with you, Golus is redemption. you find out you never left, and that they're only referring to psychological states. Look for the most difficult conditions and blossom like the lotus flower, like being in the desert for 40 years, like, well, like any life that listens here. Everything was fated for me from the beginning of time. This morning, which is what I think is Rosh Hashanah. Well, I think every day is Rosh Hashanah. We start anew, but today is actually the Rosh Hashanah, and this came to rectify my Rosh Hashanah 100 days before. What happened today, I will never, ever forget.